What's up, everybody? It's Fast Cars, Fast Money. Just myself for this weekend's videos. We got a lot of guys out of town. Probably could be a little bit quicker than our normal videos, but wanted to at least record something and get it out to you guys. But talking about the Cup Series at Kansas, and let's look at the kind of race preview and initial thoughts. But it's very similar to last week. It's another 1.5 intermediate low tire wear track. So what are we looking at? We're really looking at that 550 horsepower package. We're looking at that lap data. And we're, again, kind of playing that narrative in our head of how can my lineup score well? How can this lineup be optimal? It's race number 2 of round 3. There's 3 championship spots left. Larson has already locked himself in. Again, we're looking at that 550 horsepower package. It's a low tire wear track, so even if you want to narrow that 550 data just to the low tire wear tracks, that might be a good thing to look into. I wouldn't over exaggerate or estimate or go crazy with how Texas played out. I think I would still take all of the 1.5 lap data into consideration, but expect another crazy restarts, people running single file, potentially getting weird and crazy at the end, where guys who shouldn't get good finishes do and guys who should get finishes don't. So let's get into it. So looking at the driver by driver breakdown, it's a lot of similar plays from last week. Again, you want to probably just lock in Larson. Larson has been the best car in this package all year long. We expect him to dominate again. Don't overthink it. Just plug him in. Then from there, I think you can go a variety of different ways. I mean, you have Hamlin and Kyle Busch and Truex for the 3 JGR, cars who are right behind Larson price-wise. They weren't really that fast at Texas, which was a little surprising, but maybe that potentially lowers their ownership for this week. I'm not sure, but I still think Hamlin and Kyle Busch would be my 2 favorite plays to pair with Larson if you did want to grab another 10K driver. Truex just hasn't really shown the speed in the 550 package. Probably should just stall out, around where he starts, which is okay. But if we're playing guys up here, we need them to run fast laps. We need them to get out front and earn dominator points for us. Elliott has good track history at Kansas. But again, I just haven't really seen it out of him. Like usually his car is fast, but he's not really able to get those extra 2-3 spots that he needs to really become a slam dunk DFS play. So maybe you can consider Elliott in GPPs. I think Bowman is going to be a really popular option just based off of where he starts. I don't really expect him to earn a ton of fast laps or get out front and lead, but if he can pick up a handful of them and starting 25th and finish 6th, 8th, 5th, like that'll work out for you with the assumption that Larson is going to be the main dominator. So I like pairing Larson with either like a Hamlin and Busch, or not doing that and pairing him with like a Bowman and then potentially a William Byron. Byron's been basically the second best car in this package all year long, right behind Larson. You could basically see that last week. And now that Larson's locked into the playoffs, maybe if it's the same scenario again, maybe Byron races Larson a little harder. Maybe he takes a little bit more chances and is a little bit more aggressive to get out front. But even then, like he's still picking up fast laps. So as long as he's kind of behind Larson, he'll move forward, give you some place differential or earn some dominator points. So I like Hendrick a lot this week, mainly with Larson, Bowman, and Byron. I think that's a potential route you could go, or going like the Larson, Hamlin, Kyle Busch route and trying to really get 2 potential dominators, because I don't really see Bowman getting out front and leading. Maybe Byron can, but I'd feel more confident in Hamlin or Busch, a playoff driver, leading if Larson doesn't just run away with this race. Blaney's probably a contrarian GPP play if you don't think Larson goes out front and leads. But I think that is probably unlikely. But if you're building multiple lines, I think you should consider it. Same with Keselowski. He had good speed last week at Texas, but starting third is really hard for him to earn, positive points, even though he is relatively cheap. I think Harvick's in play again this week. He worked out last week because he started so deep in the field. Now that he starts 11th, he doesn't offer as much place differential, but we've seen him make improvements in this package all year long. He should probably run maybe 6th to 10th, kind of in that range, and that'll work out for his price tag. Not really interested in Logano, even though he's really cheap, but he just hasn't been good in this package. I'd rather would focus on Logano next week when we get to Martinsville. He's basically in a must-win scenario, so I don't really see him winning at Kansas unless he does some crazy pit strategy to get track position if there's a late restart at the end. But I'd focus more on him next week. Kurt Busch, I just think is going to get stalled out where he starts. Liked him more last week when he started further back. Really like Tyler Reddick, though. I think he offers great value for his price. We saw Reddick, have a top 5 car last week, and more often than not, we've seen that recently out of him, especially in this 550 horsepower package. So like Reddick a lot. I think he's a potential way to get different in your lines if you're not getting Larson with Hamlin or Busch, or Larson with Bowman and Byron. Like, I think Reddick is a good way to potentially get a little bit different from some of the maybe chalkier plays that are in the slate this week. Not really crazy about Chastain. He just doesn't really run that well in this package, but starting 24th, he can give you some positive place differential, but unless things get crazy at the end, I can see him finishing like 16th, 17th, which is okay, but I'd much rather take Reddick, who has that higher upside to, probably run fast laps, top 5 finishing potential. Like, there's a lot more upside with Reddick than there is Chastain. Christopher Bell's really cheap. I mean, you can get a JGR car for $8,000. I think I'm actually going to bump him up to medium. Problem is, if you look at the data, he's just not good in this package. He kind of got lucky last week with some of the late race restarts and was able to advance his position. But can you do that again? He could. I just would expect JGR to put a lot more emphasis in the Hamlin car, in the Kyle Busch car, in the Truex car. So I don't know, I'm not crazy about Bell, but I think you should still consider him and not eliminate him from your player pool. If I like Tyler Reddick, I'm going to like Austin Dillon. I just think Tyler Reddick has a lot more upside than Austin Dillon. I still think you should consider him. Not playing Eric Almirola. Wallace, Newman, Kligerman, and Stenhouse, I think, are all going to be popular plays. Really easy to fit them into any kind of build that you want to go with, just depending on how low you want to get with the slate. All of them are pretty much in the same situation that they were last week. They start deep in the field. Can't really hurt your line if they wreck out, but they can definitely have top kind of 15 upside if everything kind of goes their way. And of course, all of them were in a wreck last week together, so that's kind of why they're in the same situation. So I don't really like one of these guys more than the other. I think all of them are interesting. Then you can throw Kligerman into that situation too. The problem is like Wallace, Newman, and Stenhouse all have like top 15 upside, where Kligerman probably is going to get capped at like a top 25 day. We haven't seen this car on an intermediate track this year. We've seen it a couple of times, and when we have seen it, it has finished 19th to 26th, which is really encouraging. But we've seen this car at road courses. I don't even remember some of the other places we've seen it, but it's usually been in that 750 horsepower package. So this is a little bit different. But again, he starts dead last. He can't lose you any points. And if he can finish 25th, it'll work out for you. Not really playing Matty D. Briscoe, I think, is interesting. We've seen him make improvements, like we've seen Harvick make improvements. I think you should consider him if you need a 6K driver, especially if you want to get different, because I think everyone's just going to play Chris Buescher. He's way too cheap, $6,300, starting 21st. He usually runs about 15th, 12th, kind of in this package. That's kind of what we expect for him out of Kansas this weekend. Not playing McDowell. Eric Jones, I think, is another interesting play. If you look at his lap data, he either runs like 17th or he runs 27th. If he can give you one of those kind of 17th performances, it'll work out at his price tag. But if he has one of those 27th performances, it's going to hurt you. So maybe he'd be a little bit more of like a GPP value punt, potential option, especially if you think everyone's going to be on Busher. It's just hard to get off a Busher in this range. And for the punt plays, not really crazy about Ryan Priest, but really, if you're not playing Priest, like who else are you really going to play? And he can't really hurt you starting that deep. And he kind of has top 20 upside if things kind of go his way. But his lap data isn't been great in this package. But again, like if you're not playing him, who are you going to play? Do you want to play Haley? Alfredo, probably feel more confident about Priest. If you want like a repeat performance of last week, I think Cody Ware could be considered if you need like an ugly punt play. I don't really see him losing any spots from 36. I think he can maybe fight for a 30th place finish, especially if another car's wreck out. Maybe that goes even higher. So yeah, that would count. Yeah, I'm not going to keep him at low. I'd probably rather would play Priest over Ware, but yeah, so that's it. I know it's kind of a later video that we're putting out. Normally we're able to get mine on Thursday, but literally all of us are traveling this week, so we wanted to get something out. Yeah, that'll do it, and I'll catch you guys on the Xfinity video.